Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio. I am your host, Kelly Meehan, a citizen of the universe and a passage keeper and mentor for our new Earth children. I believe we are entering into a new psychic structure of our reality, and it is meant to embody deeper trust and ways into solid self-love and fearless integrity. Our new world energy of spirit babies needs us to consciously create within conception, trust pregnancy, and have freedom to birth and parent from innate wisdom. This is Spirit Baby Radio. Welcome to episode 230, November 2025. Stillbirth lost to freebirth, a mother's heart story. How can we remember to never minimize a mother's connection to her body and baby? How can you move into heart listening during pregnancy and into birth? What missions do baby souls have? Are you ready for it? I have here a special guest episode who has been on Spirit Baby Radio before, sharing her Spirit Baby stories. Colleen, welcome.
Hi.
And Spirit Baby Stories, the new Earth children of today, join us and share real and personal Spirit Baby stories and carry messages of love, connection, and truth. And again, I'm honored and I welcome Colleen. And she was on Spirit Baby Radio. Gosh, I want to say a few months back. I can't remember. Do you remember? It was a few months back, maybe longer.
I think it was in April. I just remember because it was my daughter's birthday that day.
Oh yeah,
April
okay.
16th.
Yeah, so we did a past episode because we were talking about birth loss. Obviously, we know
Mhm.
what the title, what we're going to get into. And then Colleen is connected to coming to the Spirit Baby Academy, and we just started talking again, going, "What happened? Like you know your birth?" And she's like, "Well, I'm gonna save it for what you said. Like, will you come back on Spirit Baby Radio?" And she said yes to share like this whole experience from stillbirth to free birth is like it's so huge and how it
I
all
still
kind
can't
of
believe I'm like able to I'm like, what?
it's a very
It's,
activating topic too, right? Because we know that
hmm
this is the fear of many mothers is birth loss. And I feel like I feel like people think we can control it, but we really can't control outcomes of death and the risks of life.
Mm-mm.
And so if you're looking, I'll get a post here in the show notes of your past episode. So if anyone wants to look at
Yeah.
your old episode, I should have got the number. I forgot what number it was. And they can kind of look at both, yeah, listen, tuning into both parts of the journey on where you are. So Colleen, give us a little intro, like a little bio about who you are, and we want to hear your story.
All right. Well, my name is Colleen, and I lost my son in 2023. He was stillbirth. Um, he's kind of the catalyst to where I am now, spiritually. Uh, and since then, through healing, I will I went to an Akashic Records reading and absolutely was like, this was an amazing session. And I got really into the Akashic Records, and so now I read the Akashic Records, and I'm taking the Spirit Baby Academy classes. And ever since I lost my son too, it opened up a whole other world, I feel like. Just basically being able to communicate with him. Like I never would have thought that was possible before. And yeah, so now here I am, and I recently just free birthed my daughter after after having Noah, my son who I lost, a stillbirth, and it was an emergency C-section. And so coming into my last pregnancy, it was hard. I felt like a lot of people, like it was like I was broken in a way. Um, I I hired two doulas. I knew like as soon as I got pregnant, I was like, I need some doulas by my side. And then they kind of, I was like, trying to figure out what hospital I wanted to go to because I didn't want to go to the hospital that I had Noah at. Not because it wasn't a good hospital, but it was just I wanted to change doctors. She had delivered both my other two babies, which those births were pretty traumatic. And I didn't feel like she had good bedside manner as well. So it was like I needed to switch everything up here. And so I hired the two doulas. They recommended going to a hospital, and I swear they told me that it had like a water birth tub. So that's why I chose the hospital, and they had midwives. And I went to like my first appointment, or no, it was probably my third appointment, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so excited that you guys have, tubs to go into to birth." I was like, "I can't believe more hospitals don't have this." She's like, "We don't have that."
Oh,
So I was like freaking out. I was like, "Oh my gosh." And I couldn't go to any of the birth centers around here either because they wouldn't accept me. I
wow.
was a risk. So that was another thing that I was just like heartbroken about, where I knew I knew I wanted to birth my daughter into this world without any drugs or anything. I wanted to do all natural. And with my previous births, I had an epidural for the first one, and the second birth, I was induced and my water was broken, which was very traumatic experience. Um, But yeah, so I just knew I was like, I'm doing things different this time. I'm doing things different. And even in when I was pregnant with Noah, I had this feeling like, oh, I wanted a home birth so bad, but I still was like, oh, I don't know. I still went to the same doctor. I just wasn't listening to my heart. I wasn't listening to what I wanted, and there was a fear there. And so when I got pregnant with Lena, I was doing everything different. And sorry, I'm like it's like so much to like go back.
Yeah,
But
there's so many different
it,
you have a lot of stories and they're all so
yeah.
different.
Yeah, it's so much like ugh. um so yeah, I was going to the appointments, and just some of like they offered me at one point. I was kind of listening to other podcasts of like gentle birthing, and I took a hypnobirthing class and all these things. I was more focused on like, oh, I just don't want any pain. I still had this fear about the pain of birthing without any drugs, and that was where my mind was at. And in my heart, I really wanted a home birth, but then I couldn't do the birth center, and I was like, no midwife is gonna come to my house. I'm a risk. And so I was going to the doctor's appointments, and I was learning more, like just little things would come into my consciousness basically. I don't like it, just little things would pop up where I'd be like not even searching, but like just about ultrasounds, how they're not actually good. There's a risk to them. And so one of the appointments I went to, they were like, "Yeah, would you like to do an ultrasound every week the last trimester?" I was like, "What? Why why would you offer me that?" And she's like, "Oh, to be honest with you, it's so that you feel comfortable. It's for the
Wow.
moms." And I was like, that doesn't make sense though. You're putting my baby at risk. And I was like, that's very odd. I don't know. And then it didn't sit well with me. I was like, you do that for comfort, but then you're actually putting the baby more at risk. And it was just a very
Isn't that
weird thing.
interesting? Let's spotlight that for a moment because it sounds like, there's a level of your consciousness that is expanding and questioning everything, which is really like, I mean, this is what we want to be as mothers and fathers is
Hmm.
expanding and doing better each time. And, even going back to what you were saying, like it's so profound. It's like you went from a very specific birth frequency to a whole other level like that's not easy, I feel like, for mothers to get to because the fear, especially what I've seen with stillbirth, it's like super intervention, super camera. If they can put a camera, inside, which maybe they
Hmm.
kind of do, it's like so much intervention. And then that's the energy of everybody's experience that they're coming through. And I love that you questioned and said, hey, why would you do this? This seems dangerous. And we do know that. I know that many people are into sonograms out of fear, but
Hmm.
it is a risky intervention. We have to accept that. It's not about, I know women get so worked up over all these interventions, like epidurals, sonograms, anything that is intervention is at risk for the baby and the mom. And
Hmm.
I'm going to say it like really straightforward, even vaccines and injections and, taking blood. It's like all these are, really wild interventions that they actually, a majority of the time are very unnecessary, right?
Oh, I'm
And
getting all
again,
into that now too. The
yeah, good thing
vaccines
that you're
and yeah.
questioning it. It's the vaccine thing, and we can't say that word too much because YouTube
Mhm.
does not like that.
Oh, yes.
So we can say the V for a little bit.
Okay.
Only because I don't want your episode to be completely shut down. And people know this, they know this. But even in that, this is what I find fascinating is that I was at this years ago, going to get a pedicure, manicure place, right? Getting my pedicure, and the pregnant woman walks in and she says, they're like, here we have some lavender essential oil. She's like, oh no, that's dangerous for pregnancy, right? And then she's literally using toxic nail polish on her toes. And I'm like, that's interesting, but it just shows where we have
Yep.
been pushed to consciously and what has come over and in the deep brainwash. Because it's like, oh, lavender essential oil like on you or smelling, it's like I'm sure it's going to be fine in pregnancy, but no, let's put on these toxic chemicals on your toes, which are probably a little bit more threatening because you're sharing
Hmm.
space and we want to eliminate toxicities. And then we can add on top of that, it's the same thing with the V. It's like there's all these metals and toxicities, but don't do this, but do that. And you do have to question everything, as you said, you do. So you question that. So you're not doing any sonograms. Let's move forward in that conversation. So what
Hmm.
did you decide to do?
And just to rewind back a little bit with Noah, I didn't have any, I maybe had two doctor's appointments. I didn't have any ultrasounds until the day before
Hmm,
I lost him. So,
interesting. Yeah.
and I remember people at the time being like, "You didn't go to any doctor. You're not going to any doctor's appointments. You're not doing anything." And I remember saying, like, I have no fear. Like, I don't have any fear with this pregnancy. And then, so coming into this pregnancy, I had a lot of people also that around me, family wise, saying, you have to go straight to the hospital as soon as you have
Oh,
a
yeah.
contraction. And that was a whole other battle that I felt was going on too, where, I wasn't talking to my mom for probably 2 months because we got
Mm,
and we were just going for a walk one day and it was basically me saying, yeah, and I even talked to my midwife about it. I was like, so I can labor more at home, like a lot at home, and then just go to the hospital when I feel the time's ready. And,
yeah.
she's like, yeah, of course. I was like, okay, because I kept hearing from family members, like, you can't do that. You can't do that. Like,
Yeah.
and when I was walking with my mom one day and I was like, yeah, my midwife said it's okay, if I labor mostly at home and then I go in when I feel ready, when it's time. And she didn't say anything really. And then she started texting me all these like
Mm,
risks and statistics of like, oh, well, this is the percentage of, I didn't say anything back. And then we didn't speak for like 2 months because,
oh,
it was like, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? And me being like, if my baby wanted this and I know she wanted this and to have like to speak to someone and they're like, well, what if this happens? What if this happens? And in my head, I'm like, she wants this. And I know, like, I just knew a
wow.
hundred
Yeah.
percent she was going to be okay. And I knew that this
Mm,
is what she wanted. Like, my body's got chills right now because it's like, I was just
that's
like, I
amazing.
know,
Yeah.
like, I just know. But like, don't know how to explain that to someone. You're like,
Oh,
it's like, I, I think I even was like, she told me, and then she was
yeah.
looking at me like, what?
Yeah, and
But
remember, it's like the fear of people is very powerful. And I know we've talked about this even in the academy, like back and forth. But I think it's just so amazing that you're able to feel that ground and that groundedness that you are in connection with your body. And baby was like, you know what? Especially from the past, because again, it can be so layered and filled with fear. And I also want to spotlight something to those that are tuning in that intervention is an option. We don't have to do sonograms at all. And I've shared this many times with each boy that I, each babies that I had, my boys, I actually did one sonogram for each. And because that's what I wanted to do. So did I do any more than that? No, because I knew it wasn't really necessary. And there were reasons why. The first time, I think I wasn't really sure what was happening. Second time, they were like, because of the first time, like, "Well, maybe we should, you know," and I was just kind of like, I was just open about it. But yeah, so if you're like tuning in going, "Oh, do I need to?" You don't need to do these things every week. And
mm-mm.
it really is up to the individual mom and her connection with her body and her baby. So just kind of feel like nowadays we do get to have a voice and we do get to make choices for ourselves. So you didn't talk to your mom for a while, which makes sense. She's fearful for you. She's concerned. You stood your
Mhm.
ground. So then what happens next?
Um, so then I like there's no coincidence to the things that were coming into my life, like into like I ended up picking up well first I was listening. Have you ever heard of the Next Level Soul podcast?
No, I don't know. I don't think so.
No. It's a good podcast, but Dr. Zach Bush was on it. Do you know Dr. Zach Bush?
Yes, yes.
And he was basically describing birth and like how he's like it's so beautiful how it's like this surrender. And so I don't know, something about when he said that and just the months of me being like, oh, the pain, like how, I was taking the hypnobirthing classes and I was like, how am I like gonna do this without the epidural? And, you know, and when he said that, it was like it's all about surrendering. And even though it may be pain, it's about surrendering in that moment. I don't, it just like
Mm,
it hit me where I was like, yes. And just the way he described it, like my whole body, I was like, that was the most beautiful description about birth. So then I was looked online and I found the book Portal. Um The Art of Choosing Orgasmic Pain-Free Blissful Birth. Uh And I actually had no idea it was about free birthing. I literally thought it was just about breath work, maybe, just little things that you could do while you're in labor that would help with the pain. And it was like a remembrance when I read that book. Like it was
wow.
literally everything inside my body was like, oh my gosh, yes, this is exactly what I needed to hear. And like it was remembrance coming over me where it was like, oh yeah, in every cell of my body, I was like, this is how it's supposed to be. And it's a shame that it's literally, I just was like, birth is sabotage. Like, oh my
Mm,
gosh. And it was, when I read it, it was just like, oh my gosh. And this was probably a month before I gave birth. So I had it all set up going to the hospital with my doulas. I
wow.
ended up calling my doulas and I was like, listen, I don't want to go to the hospital.
Oh,
I don't want to go.
wow.
And they actually didn't even support me, really. They were like,
Wow.
you know, think about what you're going to be doing here.
Wow.
People spend months and months preparing for this. And it was just all this, it was more fear. It was all fear. Like, and I could see it right there. I was like, I
So
just,
they kind of like fired you.
basically, yeah.
We're laughing
And
about it now.
yeah, it was interesting because I thought it was like, what? My doulas. Like I thought you'd be like Hell yeah.
Midwives, I know this book that you're reading. So midwives and doulas from that free birth perspective. Yeah, there's a lot of deep things to look at, even the organization for that next
Hmm.
level from hospital to midwifery. It's still this organization of consciousness, we'll say. And there's still rules and there's fears.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. You know where I'm vibing.
So they were like, I spent an hour talking to her on the phone, and she was like, "We will stand outside." Because I was like, "I don't want anyone in the room. I just want to. It's
Wow,
birth
yeah.
is sacred. I want to be alone. I want to be with my partner. Maybe my partner. Maybe not.
Yeah,
Maybe it's.
yeah.
I just want to be with my baby, and I want to
Hmm.
birth her in privacy. I don't want any other energy around me. I don't want any fears around me. I. She
Hmm.
doesn't want to come into the world this way." And I started speaking this. I was like, "She doesn't
Wow.
want that," and I know for sure. And so then, she was like, "Well, we do have another doula that has free birth all of her children."
Oh, wow.
So she was like, "I'll give you her number to reach out to her." And so I reached out to her, and she was like, "So it doesn't sound like you're coming from a place of fear." She's like, "If you were coming from a place of
Wow.
fear, I would tell you stick to the hospital, but she's like, "You're
Yeah.
coming from an empowering, like, you know what you're doing. You know." And I was like, "Yeah, I
It's
don't
so
feel like
nice
I
to
have
have
any
that. Yeah.
fear." And then I told her about, they said they'd, be by outside the hospital door, make sure. I was like, "I don't want to be checked. I don't want to have anybody touching me." And she's like, "That's bullshit." She straight up was like, "That's not going to happen." And she's like, "I need to tell you that. That's not going to happen. You're in a hospital. It's a business.
It's a
It's a
business and it can feel
liability."
like an assault too, right? That's what it sounds like. It's like, wow. Yeah, getting the honest answer. Excellent. And then yes,
Mhm.
she's
Yeah. So
she's your
then
cheerleader. She's like, you got this, right?
I know now we're like, "Let's go get coffee, girl." But yeah, she definitely was like, "It doesn't sound like you're coming from a place of fear." And she's like, if you're gonna do it, do it. I
There you
just
go.
do it."
And then what happens next?
So then, and also the whole thing with my mom too, we live in the in-law suite at my mother's house.
Mm,
So with this all going on, I was like, how am I going when someone
mm.
is like right above us who's like, you feeling anything today? You feeling anything? Like, is
Yeah.
anything happening?" And like it got to the point like towards like I was like, "Can you just leave me alone?" Like, just please, like, you're stressing me out right now. Just don't come down here. Like, and yeah, so that was a whole other thing. And that's when I sat down and I wrote to my babies. I wrote to Noah
Mm,
and Lena, and I said, I just knew in my heart, I was like, "Oh, I'm telling you, Kelly," I was like on my knees because also I brought this up to my partner as well. I
mm,
said, "Listen," and we always joked when even when he was like driving me to the doctor, like the appointments, I was like, "Just take me to that cornfield out there." We had like a pretty drive to the to
mm.
the doctor's office, and I was like, "Honestly, I'd rather give birth out there than go
Wow.
into a hospital." And like, I don't know if he thought I was like joking. I was like, "No, I'm serious. I don't want to go." And so this was even before I even picked up this book or anything. I just felt it. I was like, "I don't want to do this." And it's like I wasn't listening to my heart. Like, even that was one thing my doula said
Mm,
too, where she said, "Why did you choose a hospital birth then? Why did you get this all set up for a hospital birth?"
mm.
And I sat with that and I said, "Out of fear of what people would say to me."
Yes. Wow.
It was literally feeling
For everybody else.
yes. And I was picking that little spot where it's like, okay, I have midwives, doulas to advocate for me at the hospital. I don't want this and this at the hospital. So it's like that middle spot where everyone will be happy. But it wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't what the baby wanted. And it was like, what am I doing? Like, it's almost like I feel I've been through this loop over and over and over again. And I could see this birth as being like, now's your time to choose. It's free. It's basically like, gosh, I'm trying to like put into words how I felt about it. It's like I could see I had to pass, and
Mm.
And I knew that it was my choice to choose the narrative of that path.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I told my partner about it, he immediately was like, I don't feel comfortable about that. I
Wow.
and his point was that's selfish. That's selfish. We lost a baby and now you're gonna put this baby at risk. And it's like I felt like I was like, gosh, no one is listening. No one's hearing me. Like
Wow.
it felt like it's like gonna make me cry right now because I was like, oh my gosh, like I was like, this is my body and my baby, and no
Yes.
one is supporting. No one's supporting this at all. Even like it was nuts. Like I didn't even want to go to my last doctor's appointment, and I was like forced, like I called them and I said, you
Mm.
know what? I feel more comfortable being at home. It was super hot out. It was like over 100 degrees outside. And I was like, I don't want you to check me out. I don't want any ultrasound. I don't want any of that. I don't want you
Yeah.
to put a Doppler to my belly. Like,
Mm.
stop. I just want to be relaxed. And so I called
Mm.
and they put me to someone else before I get to the office. And the lady's on the phone and she's like cracking up. She's like, what do you mean you don't want to go? You're you're gonna be you're about to give birth. Like this is like you're like you need to go. And like was laughing at me. And I was like,
Wow.
what is happening? Like
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure like I'm the this is my body and my baby. And I feel more comfortable staying at home today, relaxing, putting my feet up.
Mm.
I just sitting. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to have to drive because it was like a 45-minute drive. I was like, I don't want to drive 45 minutes in 100-degree weather just to go there to be like, I'm good. Like, I don't want
Yeah.
anything. Like, and then they had the midwife call me, like, you should come in. And
Oh
like,
boy.
it
Wow.
was
And
all this pressure. And I'm like, whew, I
you
was
stood
just
your ground though. And we're not going to say, I'm sure there was moments of fear and anxiety in there, no?
Oh yeah. So then
Yeah.
I ended up going to that appointment
Okay.
and I sat there and I said, I I don't understand why you needed me to come in here today. What for what? I don't want you to put it, I don't want a Doppler. I don't like it's just to talk to me to see how things are going. Like
You're like, call
everything's
me on the
going great.
phone.
Yes, that's what I was like. I could have talked to you on the phone about this.
So you felt
And
like that predicted what you already felt was going to happen, but you went through a bit of it anyways.
and so then she goes through all the risks. And
Yeah.
then she starts saying, yeah, I was like, there's plenty of people that have had stillbirths and then had uh natural uh vaginal birth afterwards with not no
Yeah.
intervention or anything. And she's like, well, and at the time I was watching like Freebirth videos and they were so peaceful, so calming. And like I was doing everything even the hypnobirth class said to do, like watch positive videos, like don't listen to anyone that has anything negative. And I can't believe that this was coming from the midwife, something negative. Like, well, you just want to hear that. You just want, yeah. These were the exact words that came out of her mouth. I just sat there. I was like, I feel like I'm going, like, is
Wow.
this really happening right now? It was like everything was getting thrown at me. I swear, I think it was like a test for like just being like, are you gonna do this? Are you gonna like not like let the fear take over? And yeah, she literally then like I was going through my statistics and then she was like, "Oh, since you like to do that," and like got on her computer and then was
Oh,
looking up all the
wow.
negative stuff
Yes, of course.
after having a stillbirth. I was like, "This is insane. You're
Were
supposed to
you
be
able to say to her, like, this is not helping me. See you later? Like, you're
I,
fired.
yeah, it just gave me even more of like, oh, like I do not want to go into hospital. I don't. And
So what did
so
you do?
I
Were
was
you just
just,
passively like, okay, listening,
yep.
or did you, yeah, okay.
Oh, so then she was like, well, because I was also late by this time when I went into this appointment.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so I was like a few days late. And there's no such thing as late though, let me tell you that.
I was over
And
41 weeks with my son, like 41 and a half or
yeah,
something, and nobody cared.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but this was where this was a risk to them. Like it was like, well, let's talk about getting induced.
Oh, wow.
And I kept being like, nah, let's not talk about that today. Let's not, nah, I'm good. Let's not schedule that. And so this time she was like, this is like, you need to schedule your induced date. And like, so
Wow.
then she was saying, I want you to come in. After I didn't even want to come in that day, she's like, I want you to come in like every day next week. I was like, what? What is happening? And so they were having like problems with schedule too. So like, I was like, well, they were even having troubles getting me in today. Like back when we
Mm.
scheduled this a while ago because it was so busy. And she's like, oh, they'll make time for you. And then I go to the desk and she's like, we don't have anything. I was like, that's okay. And I just like,
Wow.
I
I love
literally
that.
was like,
Yeah.
she's
You're
like,
like,
I'll
yeah,
let me
I'll get
figure.
back to you.
Yeah.
I'll get back to you. That's what we
I
do. Yeah,
literally
that's
just
the
stood
best you
there
can.
and I was like, oh, there's nothing. Oh, too bad. Bye. I was just like, yeah. I was like, just call me. We'll figure it out.
And the phone rings, you don't answer it.
Yeah. But yeah, so and then so meanwhile at home, I've got like my sterile scissors that I prepared in a hidden corner where
Mm.
it was like I felt like with my partner being very like, what do you mean you want to do this? Like he just didn't support it at all. And a lot of
Mm.
his fears were in there too, like it was, but in my heart, and I sat there with my babies like one night and I was crying. I was like down on my knees and I was
Mm.
like, I know, like, I know you want this so badly. And I was like, I don't think I can do this for you.
Oh,
And it's like everything in my body was saying they wanted that. Like, and it's like, oh man,
wow.
like
Yeah.
it was so hard because I was like, I don't have anyone backing me up. No one supporting me. And I was like, it would be just me. And like, it was almost like I was like planning a birth, like where hopefully my partner was with my son in his room and like I wasn't gonna say anything. Like it was like getting down to that point where I was like, I just know that this is what they want and this is how
Mm.
they need to come into this world. And it was like everything in my body was like saying, yes, this is how it
Mm.
should be. Like, and so I sat with my babies and what I got was silence is best. And I couldn't
Mm.
understand that really, but it was like I feel like I was getting everyone hyped up because I was like, oh, no one's listening to me. Like, and they were getting more worried about me and more eyes on me, more,
Mm.
just more people projecting on me, like just fears and so that like last week I just read my portal book, more of it, and like really just kind of, and my water ended up breaking the day before, but it was like it wasn't full. It didn't like fully break, so it was like trickle. And so I wasn't even, I was like, should I tell my doulas? It's like
Oh,
they're
yeah,
gonna like, because
right.
that's
I
also another
know.
fear is like people are gonna be like, oh, that you need to get induced if it's
Yeah.
longer than what, 24
Yeah,
hours.
that's what they're saying.
And so that was like, oh shoot, like, oh no. And so I went for a hike.
There you go. She's like, my,
And
my water's broke. What's gonna, I'll go for a hike.
I did tell my partner, I was like, listen, my water broke the night before. I was like, you know, I was like, let's go on a hike. I'm fine. Baby's fine. I know
Yeah.
they're fine. And let's just see what, maybe tonight, whatever. Let's just take it easy. And so I was like deciding like, should I tell my doulas or not? And I said, my water broke, gonna go on a hike, nothing to worry about, blah, blah, just kind of like put my phone down, did my thing. And then it was around midnight, I started having contractions and I, it just, I ended up going from like basically also, so my partner, his mom was here watching my son because in case we had to go to the hospital, she would be
Mm.
here. And So she's like laying on the couch and like my doulas gave me something. They're like, oh, take this wooden spoon and like a sheet to like help with back contractions and a bowl. Like I needed like a bowl. Why did I need a bowl? I forget why. But so I like go out in the kitchen and she's like, what are you doing, honey? You okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. But I'm like having contractions. I'm just like trying to get anything to like
Mm.
help my back with just
Mm-hmm.
like not saying anything because my partner was with my son at the time in bed with him. And so I'm going through contractions and just yeah. And then I eventually it was probably like maybe like 3 o'clock in the morning and I go and I say to my partner, I was like, listen, the baby's coming. I've been having contractions and I'm gonna get in the shower because I feel like that's what I need. I need to just get in the shower to like help with the contractions and so I did that and he was super supportive the whole time and like I had made this oil like lavender oil rubbed with like peppermint and I was like, just he was like rubbing my back and I just moved wherever I felt I needed to go.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think I had a fan going because it was like summertime and just, it was hot out and I just laid on the ground at one point and just like he was like rubbing oils on my back and I fell asleep for a lot of it. Honestly, I fell asleep and one thing that like I notice every time, and like I'm saying contraction, but I really was saying like wave in my head, like it's like another wave, and like just like surrendered to it and knowing that like everything happening is how it's like it's the baby and me working together.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like I welcomed every wave. So it was like every time I felt it, I was like, oh, like thankful. Like it was like, all right, this is we're getting to the next step, like of this labor. Like, all right, she's about to be here. And I had this image in my head too of a rose that was just like every time I had a wave, it was like opening up a little bit more, opening up. So I'm like in and out of this like trance sleep just it was honestly I wish I could go back to it. Like it
Mm.
was such a beautiful I don't like
Wow.
it was almost I felt like it was my baby, me and God. And like
Mm.
the veil was so thin and it was just this like portal opening up and it's like just welcoming it and being like in it, like just fully surrendering in it and knowing that everything is how it's supposed to feel and be, and we're working together. And yeah, and so then, of course, my partner was like, "Oh, should we go to the hospital now? Should we go to the hospital now?" It's like, no, no, because honestly, I wasn't in a lot of pain.
Mm.
It was full, like.
So different than the other times, huh?
Yes. The other times I was kicking, screaming. Even when they broke my water, they came in with this like spiky thing. Like they're like, hold her
Ugh.
down. And
Wow.
it was like the most traumatic
Oh,
experience. I was
yeah.
screaming, crying. I was like, I don't want this. I don't want this. And
Wow.
I knew I needed to have those births too, though, also,
Mm.
in order to get to where I was at for this birth.
Yeah.
Um, it's like I did it all. Like I felt like it's like, all right, I had
Yeah,
the
you've
emergency
taken back your
C-section, I had the
power. You've taken back your power in such an
yeah.
extreme way. And I love this picture you painted of the roses. And when you were talking about that feeling, that union with the divine, I actually felt like your birth changes consciousness around the earth
Oh my gosh,
to
that's
be able to
exactly
trust. Yeah.
how I felt. It was like
I
even when I
felt it.
had
Yeah, when you
no
were
one
saying that.
supporting or
Yes.
anything, it was like I know this is like
Yeah.
it's like I knew though also there was a path where I didn't take this,
Yeah.
which is an odd thing to say. Like maybe some
Yeah.
people may not understand that, but I knew there was a path where I went, okay, and listen to people like being like, okay, I just don't want to cause any drama. I don't want
Because
to
to me, it's a numbness and a bit of a shutdown. And in that numbness and shutdown, I do feel like a lot of mothers go into a freeze. And when we go into a freeze, there's almost like a consciousness shifts where you're just not there fully, right?
No.
You're just kind of, and I think there's a lot of love and forgiveness in that because I think I know we've all been in that space. And it's like, oh, but then now you're waking up to things. And, for others, they're viewing you as this extremeness, but it's really just nature. Like you were
Mm-hmm.
coming back to nature. And again, I love how you were sharing about that connection in the contractions or the waves. I've shared that too, that in between the waves, there's this elation and this excitement. And there's a physiological, biological response, but also this portal of energy of like safety. And this is nature and life. And this is where a lot of my mission is coming back to, like, where is this piece and can we talk about it, which is why we are, because we don't have to intervene so much. But you've experienced massive intervention and abuse, obviously, you know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then coming through to another new experience of like, whoa, and listening, I hear a common theme in here. You're like, my baby's telling me. And I'm sure people are looking at you like they want to say this, midwives want to be like celebrating that, but they're also like, wait, what? Like, oh,
Oh
we just
yeah.
say that. Like, we're just saying that, but now you're like putting it into like reality.
And every time I did go to a visit, it was always like I felt like just like, oh, this is at risk, like you're at risk. Like I did keep saying like my baby's gonna be okay. Like I just
Wow.
know. Like I just
Well,
like I was
when you
like
say the
in
word at risk, they do look at women after any kind of birth losses. Suddenly
yeah.
there's the risk, right? And I
Yeah.
have a friend I was just an ER doctor friend I was just in conversation with, and I never ask her about pregnancy and birth because I'm sure she's an ER doctor. She's going to see fanatic,
Yeah.
frantic. And she was really anchored in like, yeah, pregnancy is risky. And the way she said it, I was very like, oh, that's interesting because you can see she was very sold on it being one way. And there was no really changing that for her at this moment because that consciousness of knowing that free birth and other experiences exist is not in her existence, right? It's not in like it's never been witnessed, experienced, felt, or maybe deeply studied. So there's this
Mm-hmm.
underlying thing that happens with a lot of medical professionals. They're just kind of one-sided one way. So,
Mm-hmm.
as I said earlier, life is not without any risk.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is the piece we don't look at.
Yeah. And I feel like we all have this very deep fear about death.
Yes.
And, even when you go in a hospital, like they just don't want anyone to die, like that's what they're there to do,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
protect, so it's like,
And yet 80% of people will die in hospitals. I don't know if the statistics have changed. That's a pretty high percentage.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, whenever I spoke with people, it's just fear. It's about death. It's just,
Mm,
and I would never, it's hard to describe when you're in that surrendering moment, but it's also a surrender to death as well. Like
mm, mhm.
it's also saying and believing that everything divinely happens. It's all, it's how am I saying this?
Well, some would even say that death has a feeling here, but death is a part of life, and death isn't so much as a final ending. It's just a
Yeah.
continuation of another experience, and that's the piece.
And
I feel
that's
like, yeah,
what Noah taught me was
yeah,
doesn't end with death. And so like
yeah.
I feel like now I walk through life with like it's not the end. Like there's
Mm,
never an end. Like we're always all
yeah.
together, it's we just always have it, the fear of death, it's strong.
Mhm.
And so I feel like when, you talk about free birth, that's the main like, oh, like you're putting the baby at risk and you at risk. And it's it, a lot of people that like women that free birth, I feel like it's also a surrender to knowing that, yeah, there is a risk. It's surrendering to that as well, though. And it's having faith as well and being like, giving birth is natural. It's a natural thing. And, you know, using your intuition to be like, hey, this doesn't feel right, like it's about using your intuition as well. But like when having all those births and the free birth, I realized like having that silence and that just sitting with my baby and going through the waves and listening, like I was fully in my body though, too, like
Mm,
listening to it and intuitively knowing like, okay, like even when I felt like I had to push, like I was in the shower and a knowing, it was like, all right, I'm gonna move to the bed.
because your body's telling you, it's
Yes.
instinctual. I know what you're saying.
But
It's
it's like
instinctual.
if you're around a bunch of people, like imagine
Yes.
how hard that would be to listen to that. And when you especially have other people projecting, being like, get on your back, go, go over here,
Yeah. You're following
it'll,
your biological animalistic response, it sounds like what you're saying. You're just following nature, right? It's
mm-hmm,
nature. And just to kind of shift back for a moment, I know that I've learned throughout the years talking to midwives um and outside of midwives, the statistics, I don't think they've changed, but in America, we have one of the highest of deaths in maternity care and pregnancy and birth for mother and baby, but mostly mother in America. So
wow.
it's like, well, I can see why they see it's risky, but like you're saying, we're coming back to the over intervention. Something I'm very
Yeah.
passionate about speaking more and more and more. And I hope that you do too,
Hmm.
outside into your work and world, because we need to have these conversations of there is too much intervening and it does create not just trauma, it can create death yeah, many times it does, right? And
Hmm.
there are exceptions to that, but so you're coming in. So yeah, can you work us down to the very like finer
Oh,
details of
oh,
I'd love
so,
to hear it.
and I fully believe this is like my baby's work in this was my water had broken, but it was like a trickle
Yeah.
the day before, and my mom was in town, and then she was like, "Oh, I'm going to the beach the next day for the
Mm,
night." So it happened to be that she came the one night my mother was not around to be. She was like, "I
wow.
would have called 911 immediately."
Oh boy.
Like, yeah, so that was another thing that I was so afraid of because even my doulas were like, "So if you have your baby at home, you have to go to the hospital afterwards."
No, you don't.
Yeah, they're like, you have to
Yeah.
call 911 afterwards.
Wow.
And when they come, they usually separate you into two different ambulances, one with the baby, one with the mom. Yeah, I was like, what?
Why would you do that?
That's what they told me.
Never,
And I
yeah,
remember
wow. Okay.
watching like someone be like, birth their baby at home, but then 911, they called 911 and then they wrapped the baby like with this like foil. I was like, what's
Oh
happening?
gosh.
This is like no.
Yeah.
I was like, I definitely don't want that. So I knew that if she was around too, that the birth could be sabotaged with someone like calling 911.
Yeah.
And so my partner did though call my doula when I was pushing.
Really?
Yeah, he was, and because I was directing him too, like I was like, all right, you're gonna see blood, but there's nothing to worry about. Like that's
Wow.
completely,
Yeah.
so I'm like talking him through it because I was just
Wow.
like, as soon as I realized, like, oh yeah, this is happening, babe, like it's happening. He's like, oh, like he said that he like almost like he was like just like I remember he was just like,
Hmm.
oh, like standing there, and I was like, it's all right, take a deep breath,
Wow. Interesting. This is
like.
why you're like, I just want to be alone. Hello. Like
Yeah.
everybody go away.
Yeah. And it ended up he did great though too, but
Oh,
he did
yeah.
call the doula and the doula ended up coming like probably like 10 minutes before um she was born. And
Wow.
I remember he was like, she's laying on her side, like is that okay? And I remember her like first she
Huh.
was like on the phone with him, she's like, she can birth however she wants to. I was like,
Oh,
yeah. I was just like, yes, okay. This is gonna everything's fine, like this is
interesting.
exactly like
Yeah.
this is what my body's telling me I need to lay. Like it was a position that I was like on my side, I was like, this feels comfortable, this is how I'm doing it. And she ended up coming. And I will say, she was like, you need to go to well, actually, she said, I need to call 911 after you birth. I said, no, you don't. You can leave.
Wow.
Right in the middle of birth, I was like, you can leave.
Wow,
You
good for
can
you.
leave.
Yes. And how was that received?
I knew her from high school.
Oh,
And
okay.
so she said, okay, I wasn't here. I was like, perfect.
Ah, there you go. Yeah.
Perfect. And I was like, yes, that sounds great. I was like, you were never here. And but I will still say there was still fear brought into the birth a little that
Yeah.
after I'd given birth and I'm holding Lena and it was like, all right, time for the placenta. The placenta needs to come now. Like it
Oh,
was like this
wow.
urgency. And I was like, what the hell? Like I'm just like, I'm fine. The baby's fine. The placenta's gonna cut like, and this is like, can I tell you, this a year ago for me to have done like I never would I would
Hmm.
always have listened to the doctor always like I remember even when I first gave my very first birth it's like is this okay, is this how is this okay, like am I
Hmm.
doing good, asking the like what like
Wow.
so it's like I just stepped into this like all like I was like, I know what I'm doing, and why am I listening to
Wow.
anyone else? And yeah, and so yeah, that was a little frustrating. And she even, the placenta came out, and um, she was like, what, you got to be there for your other children. Like, what if something that, what if you start
Hmm.
hemorrhaging? What if this? What if that? What if? It's just like, so then I'm like, she's like, come on, we gotta get in the car. You're going to, I'm like, I'm not going to a hospital. I was like,
Wow.
I just want to be with my baby. So I have my baby in one hand, a bowl with my placenta,
Hmm.
going outside to the car because they're like, come on, come on. It was like, what the?
Wow.
And so I like, and it's like, you're so vulnerable too in that
Yeah.
moment. And so I sit down in the car and she, she's talking to me in this passenger seat and how weeks I was keeping the placenta and I was like, where's this, where's the lunchbox to put the placenta in?
Oh,
Go get
yeah.
it. And so, and at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to
Yeah.
do this. I was like, I am perfectly fine. I want to go back in bed. I want to be with my baby and sit there and enjoy this moment. And and so then he comes back out, and then she gets a call from a midwife in the area that was like,
Oh,
yeah, randomly, and was like, I can come and check on her if she doesn't want to go to the
yeah.
hospital. I can come
Perfect.
look and
Yeah.
see. Yeah. And I was like, perfect, get me out of here.
Yeah,
Going
that's
back to the
so
bed.
terrible. Like you just saw when you had your baby, you're like running to the car with a bowl of placenta, and you know it's going to be chaos in the hospital. Who knows how they would treat you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exact. Oh my gosh. And
Yeah,
that's what I was like, yeah, I was like, could you I was
because
like,
you're
they're
an
gonna see me.
emergency. You're being
Yes.
dangerous. You're risky. It's just that's the
Yes.
consciousness of hospitals. It's like so the
And I
midwife
just
comes
knew
over, and then how did that go?
she checked me out. I had no tears. She was like, you're perfectly good. Baby's great. Great. And so,
Just like you felt and suspected,
mm-hmm.
right? It's like that's what you were.
And
Mm,
oh, it kind of does like so the next day, I don't know if you know how like they poke your baby's foot for
blood draws, yeah.
yeah. And so we were talking about everything that needed to happen. And that goes into a whole other thing with like birth certificate and all that.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but that's a whole other
Did you
episode
get a
for
birth
that.
certificate or no? Did you know Veda? Have you seen her work?
I
She was on
do,
my pod.
yes.
Okay,
And so
connect
that's
with her. Yes.
that's also another random thing that I listened to a month before I gave birth, and I was like, oh, I was like, now I got to think about this, and like, but I don't think there was any coincidence that I happened to listen to that podcast before giving birth to.
And then
It's
my new mantra is that babies don't need anything after they're born. Blood
Yeah.
draws, pokes,
So yeah, so that's
anything.
another
Yeah.
interesting story was that
Salves and things and
she's like, I was like, I don't know how I feel about that, and she was like, then the doula was like, I would recommend it.
hmm.
Yeah. And doulas can't really get
Yeah, I was gonna say I've never
it,
heard any heel pricks. Like I don't even think anyone's doing them anymore. I don't even hear anything, but I think they may
it's to
automatically do
test
it. I
for
don't even
certain
know.
it's to test for certain diseases that are like super rare. Like
Yeah.
I even asked the doula, I was like, so how many times has this came back positive for any of these? And
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
she's like, only one came back positive out of
So
like
what does that mean though? Like, so
400.
let's say there is this one rare positive. Like, what does it really even mean for the life of the child? It's like to me, diseases are energetically,
Hmm.
lineagistic, likely, and we look at Bruce Lipton's work of epigenetics. It's based on the environment. So then you're
Yep.
like you're doing an unneeded intervention against a
Mhm.
child's body, which is a level of an assault, right? And
Yep.
I know that, and then it's like, do children actually need blood draws at all? Like, unless they have maybe some severe medical concern. But I even think children, older children, there's too many blood draws happening. Like, is it like someone was just sharing, oh, my kid had a fever in this group I was in. And she was like, they did a blood draw. And I thought, first of all, when someone's sick, the last thing you want to do is take their blood away. You don't
Yeah.
have to be a doctor for that. That's taking away
What?
their life force, their energy, and their body's rebuilding. And then the child just had a fever. But it just shows you bring, they made a mistake. They were scared. They
Yeah.
brought their child in, and then it's like they do these things, and I'm like looking at like a lot of children. I know children that can live until over 20, 30 years, never have a blood draw. It's like it's not a thing
Mhm.
we have to do. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. It, so yeah, she ended up coming back the next day and so she had like
oh, okay.
three of those like the pricker
Yeah.
thing, like they poke your foot and it was weird. It was super weird. The energy got very weird in the room. And
Mm,
I knew in my heart, I was like, oh, I'm doing this. Like, it was like that whole fear thing again. Like, it was like,
yeah.
oh. And then, like, before she even was about to do it, like, I was like, do you want me to hold her? Should I breastfeed her while you're doing this? Or. And then, she went to my partner's hand or like, he was holding her and she started like crying and the energy was just crazy in the room. I was even like, oh, this is weird. And then she went to go do it and it didn't work.
Hmm.
It was broken. So then she pulls out two other ones and I
You're like,
saw her
nope.
take it. She took it out of the package, didn't work.
Huh.
Did another one, didn't work. She's like, I have never had this happen.
Mm.
And I was like, I don't think it's supposed to happen.
This baby does not want to be a new Earth human with any interventions at all.
Nope. Nope. And I was like, like, and it just goes back to like, I knew this is how she wanted to come into this
Yeah.
earth. And this is like, it's so strong. And it's hard because it's not accepted by, like, it's, not understood by everyone how it's. I went recently to a family party and my stepmom was like, I didn't call you after the birth because I was so angry with you.
Mm.
Um, and she said this after I explained the whole birth, and she was like, but after you had described your birth and like everything that you said, I see what you mean. And I was like, yeah,
Mm.
I was like, because I was like, I had to listen to my heart. Like, could you imagine if I
Mm.
was like, I didn't listen to my heart and I didn't listen to like
Wow.
my heart, everything in my body was like, my baby wants this. Like, imagine if I wouldn't have done that. Like, would
Yeah.
you be proud of me? Like,
Wow.
would
Yeah.
like just to give a thought, like I was like, would you have been proud of me then if I would have just been like, I didn't listen to my heart. I like it, I just listened to other people on how they felt I should birth my baby.
And I think that's the big
Interesting.
thing you just said, and I don't think people think of this is that You go into hospital, even midwifery settings, there is this kind of birth consciousness and kind of do it the way I want to do it because it's safer or it's risky. But as you've shared in the storyline, there were a lot of mistakes that doctors make in hospital, like even midwives, like, saying certain things and being inappropriate. And then yet you're still standing your ground. And it's okay that you're in it with fear and love, but going into that deep level of trust and having that sense of community is important in that. And
Mhm.
now it's after, and everybody's like seeing the amazing results, which is a whole other story. I want to encourage you. I think this would be an amazing story to write out, to share. Maybe that's something you're doing besides on this podcast and maybe many other podcasts, because it's such a
Yeah.
powerful space to go. And it's what we need to raise to that next level. And even when you're just sharing that story with did you say your mother-in-law? Did you say your in-law? Or was your mother? Was
My stepmom.
Oh, your stepmom. That like you're owning your own sense of authority, and it has to be respected. Even if people don't understand it, it doesn't matter, because I do believe we are put into frequencies that may not even be matched with others at all. But it doesn't mean you're
Hmm.
supposed to stifle yours or cover it, because obviously you weren't, because you kept being pushed and you kept seeing this more expanded result going, no, this is what's
Hmm.
happening, this is where we're going. And then the result was really even in everybody's okay, that you felt everybody's okay. You knew that
Yeah.
everybody was okay. And then yet, they're verifying something you already knew. So now, where are you at now with everything?
Yeah. So um, now it's like all into the V's.
Oh,
Just
yes.
going through that now and the birth certificate and navigating that and yeah, but I will say, like, after the birth, even my partner's mom, who was like in the other room, was like, that was absolutely amazing. And
Wow.
like
Aw.
that, like just to hear her, I was like, wow. I was like, I thought you would be upset with me too, Like I figured I would walk into it because even I think my stepdad was home too upstairs at the time and was like, you know, called my mom immediately at the beach and was like, you need to get home now. She's having the baby now. And so she rushed home but she came after and I was expecting this anger or, frustration with me. And
Mm.
I feel like people, some probably had some anger still, but everyone was pretty happy. Like, just like I'm glad you guys are okay. And just we sat there and, ha my partner's mom was just like, wow, that was amazing. That was really amazing. You should be proud. She's like, I don't know.
Aw.
You should be proud. And I was like, oh,
Yes.
it was like I finally like I got some kind of like pot. Like I was like, oh, like it just felt good to hear. And so yeah, now Lena, she, is about to be 3 months and just navigating the birth certificate and um it is one thing with free birth. I will say not a lot of people talk about that. Because even I I got the paperwork for the birth certificate and I was like, okay, let me get it signed. Like just for like I don't know if I'm gonna do it, I'm like kind of going back and forth with it. And I brought Lena to my first postpartum visit and figured like I went there for all my doctor's appointments. Like, wouldn't they sign the paperwork for it?
Yeah.
And they said no.
Oh,
They said no.
interesting.
They're like, I wasn't there for the birth. No.
Oh, you're a liability.
Yeah. And
You're like, all right, that's pushing me in this direction over
yes,
there. So
exactly.
I have
And
to tell you, like with my last born, who's 9 years old now, I didn't have beta back then because I said I didn't want to get a birth certificate, but there was no platform, no one to talk to, and I was like, so he was almost a year old.
oh my
And
gosh, really?
yeah. So we're like, I guess we'll do the baby well visit. We never did a baby well visit because he was healthy and fine. So
Hmm.
then we went in and it was hilarious because They were like, and I'm very good with sneaking around energies and restructuring them, like with people standing right in front of me. So I'm like, this is gonna be not a big deal. The woman was
Hmm.
very nice, and she was like very impressed with his strength in his body and his joyfulness, because he had like born at home, no intervention, had the whole, you know, all the gooey goodness on him, didn't wash him, and he
Hmm.
was a different energy. I don't care what people like, it's a different energy. And whereas like I had, had my first home birth transfer hospital, which is a whole other thing, and he was scrubbed and it was whole totally different energy. And so I'm just like the nurses were a little confused. They were like, well, and I'm like, yeah, this is first visit. Anyways, I just need this paper signed.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, and they were just kind of like, because they were like following orders, so I'm like, they're just gonna follow my order. And so it was kind of funny actually, because I was
So
just
they
like,
signed it?
yeah, yeah,
Wow, I've been
yeah,
noticing like it.
yeah.
I talked to the girl, the doula that free birth all her kids, and she's like, yeah, you can go to this one doctor that if you go for like the, your first visit, bring your baby. Um, and I have like a really good health insurance, and they're like, no, we don't accept that. It'll be like $400 for a visit. And I was like, $400 for them to
Oh
sign,
wow.
basically, like that's all I'd
Yeah.
be going for, really, is to get that sign. And I was like, I don't feel this is, I feel like it's intimidating though. It is. Like it's very intimidating to think about all this at the same
Yeah,
time
because
because
I think it's different now because then I think we didn't really know anything. So we went in with that naiveness, which is a good energy. Because I'm all just like, yeah, I just
hmm
need that paper sign. Oh, okay. And it was like, and then we just went on our way and we had to go to downtown and do all this weird stuff. But if I knew more now, it was like, because I was like, I don't want him to have a social security and all these weird numbers. Like, what is that? And I questioned it very long time ago. But again, nobody was talking about it. I have a community. But
it's
then I was
intimidating to have
like,
to do like
yeah, he
luckily
almost had
Veda
no
did all
birth
this work.
certificate, and I thought it was hilarious because it was like, yeah, what do we need all this stuff for? Because we weren't doing baby wellness. We never do baby wellness visits with any of our kids. And I know some people do like to do it, and that's
Yeah.
fine. It makes them feel secure, whether they do the V or no V. Because you can do it with doctors without a V, and people just whatever, that's what you want to do. But for us and my instincts, it didn't feel like it was ever necessary. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it was kind of funny. Like back then, I'm like, oh, like what? Now I'm like, oh, now we have Veda and a lot of other people going, no, this is okay. So now you're left with like what? Like what the next steps are? You're still trying to figure that
Yeah.
out.
Well,
Yeah.
so yeah, then
Yeah.
I did bring her to a first appointment. Um, and it was funny, like just trying to book the appointment. They were like, "You what? Wait, like you don't have any like records, or you didn't go to what do you mean you didn't go to a hospital?" Like it was literally they kept passing the phone around, being like, "What?
I
How are we
think
gonna
they're
get you
changing
in?"
their consciousness because they're like, we don't even know what a free birth is or unassisted
Yes,
birth. Like, we don't
they.
even know. Yeah.
The lady was
Like
like,
on
"How did you
purpose?
do that?" I
I
was
used to
like, "What
tell
do you
people like
mean?"
they used to say to me, "Oh, so you had your baby?" I said, "At home on purpose." I used to have to say that for a long time, and I was like, I have to really say that, like on
Yeah.
purpose, at home on purpose, like. And now I don't have to because consciousness is changing. Even free
Mm-hmm.
birth, it used to be called unassisted birth, and I met two women, like not kidding, like 15 years ago that unassisted birth, they weren't telling anybody. Are you
Yeah,
kidding me? They
I
would be
mean,
like,
honestly,
"Whoa."
I still get a little fear to say like, yeah, that's how I wanted it, Like I was like,
Let
oh,
me
just
tell you,
couldn't make it to the
yeah.
hospital.
Well, let me show you this story. So we had this friend and she was a really awesome woman. And she had two boys and we were hanging out a lot. This was like probably over 15 years ago. She told us, well, with my second, I unassisted birth. We were like, what's that like? She goes, well, I was in a cabin. My husband was like there and she goes, I sent him out to go grocery shopping by myself. I gave birth to our son
Wow.
and I was like, oh, wow. Like, and she just,
Wow.
because her instinct said, I'm just gonna, for her, her body was in integrity and it was felt good. There was no, why am I not gonna do this? Like with me, like I had so many other traumas that I was like, oh, this
Mm-hmm.
is a little tricky. But with her, I was like, yeah. And it was just so amazing, like doing it at a time where nobody can even talk about it. And so I met these
Wow.
women back in the day. I was like, I love that I attracted that and was connecting with that. And I do notice that usually with free birth, now there's a lot of firstborns, but I noticed later down on the line, if there's more kids coming, Yeah, it's just like I'm gonna, have my baby. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's just hit, like, what am I doing? It's like a natural reflective instincts, It's like, let me just do that.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure there's so many more, right? We don't even know, right, to that degree of how many free births there are. But it's definitely more powerful now, and we're speaking about it, I should say. And you're allowed
Mm-hmm.
to speak about it. And so, yeah,
I
so you're
was
still navigating a lot of different things, it sounds like.
Yeah, I was dreading going in that doctor's appointment, like just because I knew that they were going to talk about the vaccinations because she didn't get any, and I was like t preparing my partner. I was just like, they're going to try to vaccinate her. We're going to say no. Like, we're just going to walk out. If
No,
they
you
do
know
it, if
what you
they,
can do here? I want to give you this advice, and for anyone else tuning
mm,
in, you can say thank you. We're gonna look into it and sit with it.
we ended up saying that. It was
Because
like,
when you start to
I
go
knew,
no and fight back, then they
yeah.
then they find you a challenge, and then they want
Hmm.
to. I remember with my firstborn, they gave me like this thick packet, and I'm like, "What is this?" I'm gonna really, and it was all the fear of sickness and
Yep.
disease.
Yep.
They're not giving you the inserts of the metals and other things that are in these experiments.
Hmm.
And, babies are not supposed to have strong immune systems when they're born. This is what people don't know. They get so scared. They're not supposed to. They get the immunity from their mother's milk. And
Hmm.
these are the things we need to be talking about. But you are not alone. There is a whole, we can even say V-free movement where there's many, many women and men, parents around the world that have children that are V-free and that are healthy and thriving. Like, and I know it's,
Hmm.
those are tuning in, they get very scared, all these, because we've been so brainwashed. And that is a whole other episode.
Like,
But
I
we
mean, I
have been.
remember listening to stuff where, people were talking about, not vaccine. I'd be like, oh, that's scary.
Yeah,
Like,
see? Good.
like,
Yeah.
and it's like I have this whole different perspective now where I'm like, I don't
You're
want,
like rebirthed into something else. You're like, what is this? Who am I? What's happening? What am I becoming?
yeah.
But I want to come to an end here. I know we can keep
Hmm.
going, and there's so many. Colleen, thank you so much for being here. And any final love
Hmm.
words that you can share, and then ways that people can follow you and just stay connected to your story and support for your own future offerings. It's just
Yeah.
two things.
What I would tell other women, is listen to your heart. Listen to your heart and your intuition. Um, yeah. Don't let other people's fears get in the way of that. I feel like I've done that a lot throughout my life, and I feel like I'm finally taking like radical responsibility of my life and being like, no, this is what I want. Um, and I want this for my babies as well. And yeah, so I would give that advice. And then you can find me at the Herbalist Jeweler on Instagram or at the Akashic Sisters, where we offer Akashic record readings. And then yeah, I'm starting to get into pre-birth communicator sessions. So yeah, if anyone's interested in that, just DM me.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And maybe we'll have you back on in the future for another layer of the story, possibly, right? Thank you for joining episode 230, November 2025.
Thank you for joining Spirit Baby Radio with your host, me, Kelly Meehan. Please join my community and stay in touch with monthly energy rants, Spirit Baby poetry, and get access to Spirit Baby 101 with tips and practices at my newsletter at newearthchildren.com. And join me on Instagram with lives at Spirit Baby Medium, and join the Mighty Networks, the Spirit Baby Collective membership, and Motherhood to Mediumship. Remember, you are the heart that holds communication, and it is your time to connect. Come share in the great shift of your mind and the true spirit of your heart with Spirit Baby Communication.